does what you're saying, how probable is that?
It'll be unpopular if the WNBA folds. Unpopular to who? To the large majority of the... I'm not sure I understand what you're saying.
Okay, we're just going to stop it right there. He's got a great point. Unpopular to what? Even with all the new fans, 2.5 million people? If they're gone tomorrow, 2.5 million people. And that's on the very high end.
The air in the room has shifted. It's no longer filled with the optimistic buzz of a breakout season, the electric crackle of sold-out arenas, or the celebratory chatter of record-breaking ratings. That atmosphere has been replaced by something colder, harder, more calculating, the stark reality of a high-stakes business negotiation, where morality and momentum are colliding headlong with balance sheets and historical debt. The WNBA, fresh off what many have called its transformational moment, now finds itself at a crossroads so perilous that its very existence is being discussed not as hyperbole, but as a plausible outcome. At the heart of this precipice is a fundamental, almost philosophical disconnect. On one side, the players, the athletes who have, through sheer force of talent and personality, captured the cultural zeitgeist. They see packed stadiums, jersey sales charts with their names at the top, and social media metrics that dwarf those of established leagues. They feel the ground moving beneath their feet. They hear the roar, and they have arrived at a logically sound conclusion. We are the product. This surge is built on our shoulders, our narratives, our historic performances. Therefore, we deserve a structural, irrevocable share of...
I gotta tell you, if the players don't take this offer, they're idiots. They're idiots. There's no excuses. Because by the time you get to the final year of this offer, the final year of this deal that's on the table, the max players are making what you're making in Project B, $2 million. And the minimum salary, we're talking, I mean, this is more than
the value we are creating. Their demand is not for incremental improvement, it is for systemic justice. A 50-over-50 revenue split modeled on the NBA, a true partnership where the league's financial success is inextricably and automatically linked to their own. On the other side sit the owners, a group comprised largely of NBA franchise holders and independent investors who have, for 28 consecutive seasons, opened their financial statements to see the same stubborn line item, loss. We are not talking about a rough year or two. We are talking about a venture that has, since its inception in 1997, never once turned an annual profit. It has been sustained by the deep pockets and, arguably, the ideological commitment of the NBA and its owners, who have subsidized operations to the cumulative tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. These owners look at the same boom that the players see and process it through a different lens. They see a long-awaited opportunity, not for parity, but for solvency. They see the new $2.2 billion media rights deal with ESPN, Amazon, and NBC, not as a windfall to be immediately split, but as capital that must first repair a quarter-century of structural deficits.
The end of the WNBA, the players will move. There's not going to be a fixed number. It doesn't make sense to me for the WNBA to demand that, for the players to demand that right now. I understand. The biggest thing they did wrong, they said this is their moment. And so they've put a lot of pressure on themselves to make huge changes in the collective bargaining agreement because this is their moment. What you try to do is make incremental benefits through the course of multiple agreements.
Their position is also logically sound, at least in the realm of traditional finance. We absorbed the risk when there was none. We funded the dream when it was a financial black hole. Before we share the newfound upside, we must first be made whole. Into this charged arena steps David Samson, the former president of the Miami Marlins, a career executive who speaks the unadorned, ruthless language of franchise economics. His commentary, delivered on the Dan Le Batard show, was not a passionate sermon for either side. It was a cold splash of actuarial truth. He gave voice to the question that haunts every business negotiation where sentiment runs high. Unpopular to who? When the players and their supporters threatened that folding the league would be a public relations disaster, a betrayal of women's sports, an unpopular move, Samson demands a census. He points to the numbers. 2.5 million viewers at the absolute peak. For a finals game featuring the sport's most electric rookie in a generation. In a nation of 330 million, that is less than 1% of the population. The NBA's average regular season game draws 1.6 million. The WNBA's pinnacle is a good night for the men's league. Unpopular to who is not a rhetorical jab. It is a quantitative analysis of leverage. It asks, how large, how loud, and how
exactly what your boy said. Me. They're trying to go for too much at one time, especially involving a league that's never turned a profit. Get your salary increase and then revisit in 3 years after the owners have actually put a profit in their pockets for the first time because of your media rights deal. Let the owners actually make some money, because he makes it real clear. Like, if you listen to this whole thing, he makes it very clear the owners want to be paid back for all the money they've lost over the years. And I don't blame them. It's debt.
And so I don't think they should have gone for everything they're going for right now, because they put...
Economically consequential is the public that would truly revolt. The passionate base is real, but is it large enough to financially threaten a coalition of billionaires? Samson's implied answer is a sobering no. His analysis cuts to the core of the player's strategy, which he frames as a profound, possibly catastrophic, tactical error. The players' union, emboldened by the moment, has chosen to go all in on the most ambitious, most expensive demand, true revenue sharing, in the very negotiation where the league is first glimpsing profitability. In Samson's world of multi-year collective bargaining, this is the opposite of how successful unions operate. The playbook, honed in the NFL, NBA, and MLB, is one of incrementalism. You secure a significant but sustainable salary floor increase in one agreement. You improve benefits and working conditions in the next. You build trust, demonstrate stability, allow the business to grow, and prove its profitability. Then, and only then, do you lay claim to a guaranteed percentage of the revenue pie. You move from being a cost to being a partner. By demanding partnership before the owners have seen a single dollar of profit, the players are, in Samson's view, attempting to skip directly to the final chapter of a book that is still being written. They are asking for the rewards of a mature, thriving enterprise, while the enterprise itself is still in financial rehabilitation. And he issues the clearest of warnings. The owners will not agree to this. Their alternative is not to negotiate harder or offer a compromise. It is to fold the league, to cease operations, to stop the bleeding permanently. This is not a bluff born of greed, he argues, but a rational decision born of financial reality.
To get it, or it's like a major loss.
What did you say on the front end of this?
He said the end of the WNBA.
What are you saying is going to happen if...
let's be clear, Dan. People are not talking about this enough. We talked about it on the sporting class, and obviously you know John Skipper's involvement in Unrivaled, but you also have talked about what Project B is. You understand there are players who are getting paid multi-millions of dollars to go play in another league in another country. This is the moment. If you had any ability to invest and you wanted to start a league to compete with the WNBA, this is the time. Every player is a free agent. All of them want money.
Business, even one backed by billionaires, will voluntarily sign a contract that guarantees it will lose money in perpetuity. The league's current offer, which Samson characterizes as more than fair, is a testament to the incremental approach. It is a staggering leap forward from the current compensation structure. The minimum salary would rocket from roughly $60,000 to $250,000, over 400% increase, fundamentally altering the life trajectory of end-of-bench players. The average salary would jump from $120,000 to over $530,000. The maximum, fueled by bonus mechanisms, could approach $2 million by the deal's end. This is generational wealth creation for the athletes. Yet, to the Players Association, it is insufficient because it is not the structure they want. It is a gift, not a right. It can be given. but it can also, theoretically, be taken away. They seek the immutable right of revenue sharing, a system where their fortunes are legally tied to the league's growth. Samson then unveils the chilling landscape of the players' alternatives if they choose to fight to the death. The leverage does not flow in their direction. He points to Project B, the well-funded league in the Middle East offering multi-million-dollar contracts to superstars. He mentions Unrivaled, the 3-on-3 venture co-founded by stars like Brianna Stewart and backed by serious venture capital. These are not specters. They are real options with real money. But they are options for the elite, the Caitlin Clarks, Angel Reeses, and Aja Wilsons of the world. The WNBA has 144 roster spots. Project B and Unrivaled might, combined, employ 40 or 50 players at premium salaries. What of the other 100? Where does the journeywoman, the defensive specialist, the developing rookie go? Likely back overseas, to leagues paying a fraction of even the current WNBA.
Not get that. They will not get it because it's not financially viable. You just fold the league because the league's not going to make it then, and everybody moves on to whatever other league they want to. And then there's the revenue sharing that's based on if you turn a profit, then you get blah, 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 and it's based on different criteria. The revenue sharing, the league is actually willing to give. The owners are actually willing to give. David Samson's a real smart business.
Minimum. The top 10% have an exit. The bottom 90% are utterly dependent on the WNBA's existence. A work stoppage or a league fold is, for them, not a negotiating tactic but an existential threat. This is the brutal mathematics of leverage that Samson lays bare. The owners can survive without the WNBA. It is, for most, a loss-generating subsidiary of their primary sports holdings. Closing, it would be a regrettable write-off on a long-held investment. But for the vast majority of players, the WNBA is not a subsidiary. It is the main event, the pinnacle of their profession, the source of the vast majority of their athletic income and platform. When one side can walk away with a bruised portfolio and the other side walks away into career oblivion, the dynamics of the negotiation are irrevocably shaped. Samson's final prediction is one of grim, pragmatic resolution. He believes the players, despite the strike authorization and the fiery rhetoric, will ultimately cave on the core demand for immediate NBA-style revenue sharing. They will do so because the alternative, testing the owner's willingness to fold the league, is an unfathomable risk. They will instead accept the historic salary increases, declare a public victory, secure ancillary improvements on travel or marketing, and live to fight the revenue-sharing battle in 3 years when the new media deal has had time to generate the profit that can then be legitimately fought over. His analysis forces a painful but necessary reframing of the entire conversation. This is not a simple morality play of greedy owners versus deserving players. It is a collision between two valid timelines. The players operate on the timeline of cultural momentum, a short, explosive window of public attention that must be seized. The owners operate on the timeline of financial endurance, a 28-year marathon of losses that demands recoupment before sharing. Both are right within their own frames of reference. But in a negotiation, only one framework can dictate the terms of the agreement. The tragic irony is that the players' moment, the very surge in popularity that empowers them, is also...
This be the end. Because the NBA owners, aka the WNBA owners, and Adam Silver not going to play this game with the WNBA. And you heard him. He was like, the players are going to cave on this. And maybe this perceived move for a strike is like, oh, look at us. We're really strong. We really tried, but we're going to go ahead and take this deal. You know, because they ain't got a choice but to take the deal or go out of business. One of the two. Wow. That is a very good... I used to watch the Dan Le Batard show all the time. Pre-2020. Pre-2020, Dan Le Batard show, I watched it. I actually consumed the podcast version of it daily for years and years and years. And Stugatz. And then in 2020, Dan Le Batard went ridiculously into politics, and it almost wasn't even a sports show anymore. And now I just never consume it. I didn't even know they were still talking actual sports on there. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out.
So what makes this negotiation so dangerous? By declaring it their time, they have signaled maximum pressure, which can force a cornered opponent to consider their most extreme option. The owners, faced with the prospect of locking into a system that shares revenues before expenses and debts are covered, may indeed view folding not as an act of spite, but as the only rational financial decision left. So, what is the path forward? Samson's cold calculus suggests the players must recalibrate. The goal should not be to win everything in one heroic stand, but to ensure there is a league, stronger and richer, in which to fight the next battle. Accepting a deal that triples the average salary and quintuples the minimum is not surrender. It is a historic consolidation of gains that secures the foundation. It allows the league to stabilize, to prove its profitability under the new media deal, to build a financial track record that is no longer theoretical. From that position of proven, sustainable success, the argument for true partnership becomes unassailable. The final, haunting question Samson leaves us with is not about fairness, but about survival. In a system where capital bears the initial risk, does labor have the leverage to demand shared rewards before that risk is repaid? The WNBA players are testing that boundary in the most public way imaginable. They are betting their careers and the very league they have built on the answer. David Samson has simply done the math and shown them the stakes. And in doing so, he has issued a warning that echoes far beyond basketball. In the showdown between a moment and a balance sheet, the balance sheet always gets the final vote. The players must now decide if their moment is powerful enough to rewrite that fundamental law of economics, or if wisdom lies in securing their historic raise and living to fight for the revolution another day.